There's something about Richmond that surprises a lot of people when they start looking at homes here. You can drive 20 minutes and feel like you're in a completely different place. 1 minute you're in Short Pump where everything is right around the corner. Grocery stores, restaurants, Target runs, the kind of place where you can get most errands done in one quick trip. Drive a little farther and you're in a neighborhood where people are out walking dogs in the evening, kids are riding bikes after dinner, and the community pool becomes the social hub in the summer. Head another direction and suddenly you're out towards places like Powhatan or Goochland, where homes sit on several acres. It's quiet at night and you can actually see the stars. Same metro area, 3 completely different ways to live. And here's the interesting part. A lot of buyers move here convinced they already know what they want. But once they actually start exploring Richmond, that plan often changes. Today, I'm going to show you 3 homes that represent 3 very different lifestyles you can find around Richmond. And somewhere along the way, you might start realizing the lifestyle you thought you wanted might not actually be the one that fits you best. People arrive in Richmond with a very clear idea of what they want. And then once they start seeing the area, their perspective shifts. Richmond isn't just one lifestyle. It's a lot of different lifestyles packed into the same region. And as someone who grew up here, I'm a native Richmonder. That's one of the things I've always loved about the area. You really do have options. And the first lifestyle we're going to look at is where a lot of relocation buyers start their search. Let's start with a lifestyle that a lot of relocation buyers gravitate towards pretty quickly once they begin exploring Richmond: suburban convenience. The easiest way to understand Richmond is this: you're not just choosing a house, you're choosing how your day-to-day life is going to work. And for many buyers moving here, convenience becomes a huge factor. Errands that used to take half a day suddenly take 15 minutes. This lifestyle really shows up in areas like Short Pump, Glen Allen, and parts of Midlothian. Short Pump has really become one of the main hubs for this kind of living. And here's something a lot of relocation buyers don't realize at first. A huge portion of Richmond's shopping and dining is concentrated right in this corridor along Broad Street. I always say anything and everything you could possibly want or need is within a 3-mile radius in Short Pump. Between Short Pump Town Center, West Broad Village, and everything along Broad Street, you can knock out an entire Saturday of errands without driving very far. And when you spend time out there, you start to notice the rhythm of daily life. Saturday mornings, the soccer fields at Deep Run Park are full. It's just easy. I worked with a family relocated from Texas who ended up in one of these suburban neighborhoods. And the biggest thing they noticed after moving was how much simpler everyday life felt. Now, sometimes people hear the word suburbs and assume it means quiet or boring. But the suburbs around Richmond are actually pretty active. For many buyers relocating here, this ends up being one of the easiest transitions because it balances space, convenience, and access to everything that the Richmond area offers. Now, if you're watching this and thinking, this kind of lifestyle might work well for me, that's exactly where we come in. I spend a lot of time helping buyers relocating to Richmond figure out which areas actually match the way they want to live. So, if you're starting to explore the Richmond area, feel free to reach out. You can call, text, email, or grab a tab on my calendar anytime. All of my contact information is right down in the description below. And I'd be happy to help you start narrowing down which neighborhoods might be a good fit. Now, for some buyers, suburban convenience is great, but what they really end up gravitating towards is something a little different. They don't just want a neighborhood, they want a community, environment where shared spaces and amenities are part of everyday life. And this is something Richmond has seen a lot of growth in over the past decade. You see this lifestyle most often in areas like Moseley, Midlothian, and parts of Western Chesterfield, where a lot of newer communities have been built with amenities designed to bring people together. Things like walking trails throughout the neighborhood. Neighborhoods like Magnolia Green, Roundtray, and Summer Lake are well-known examples of this lifestyle of community. And when you drive through places like this, you notice the atmosphere pretty quickly. During the summer, the neighborhood pool often becomes the gathering place where people spend a good part of the weekend. Many of these communities also organize things like food truck nights, holiday gatherings, and seasonal events. When you're moving somewhere where you may not know anyone yet, having shared spaces like trails, playgrounds, and pools naturally brings people outside. Quick question for you as you're watching this. Have you ever lived in a neighborhood where people regularly connect with neighbors and use shared amenities? Because for many buyers relocating to Richmond, this is the lifestyle they didn't originally plan for, but end up really enjoying. If you've never gone through a relocation search before, this part usually surprises people. Most buyers begin their search with a very clear picture. They'll say things like, I want land. I need to be close to everything. I want a neighborhood with a lot going on. They've already imagined what daily life will look like. But once they start driving through the region and actually seeing different areas in person, that picture starts evolving. One thing longtime Richmonders know is that the lifestyle differences around here can change quickly just by driving a short distance. You might start your morning touring homes in suburban neighborhoods. Then you take a drive out towards the outer counties, and suddenly the environment feels completely different. I've seen buyers who were convinced they needed acreage spend time in a neighborhood where people are outside walking dogs and kids are riding bikes, and suddenly they realize they enjoyed that environment more than they expected. Other buyers start out wanting to be close to everything. Then they drive through a more rural area and immediately notice how peaceful it feels. Sometimes buyers who planned on new construction fall in love with the older home with character. And Richmond offers several very different ways to live within the same metro area. You can have suburban convenience, achieve community neighborhoods, or quiet acreage, all within a relatively short drive. And once buyers start seeing those options in person, their priorities often become clearer. Not because their original plan was wrong, but because now they can actually picture what everyday life might look like in each place. And that's usually when the search starts coming into focus. Because once someone understands the kind of lifestyle they want their daily routine to revolve around, the right areas usually begin standing out pretty quickly. If you leave the suburban areas for a little while and start heading outward from Richmond, the environment changes pretty quickly. Sidewalks become less common. Homes sit farther apart. The noise from traffic fades away, and you start seeing larger properties, long driveways lined with trees, homes set back from the road, open land, and wooded acreage. This is the space and privacy lifestyle. And one thing that surprises many relocation buyers is how accessible it is. Drive about 25 to 30 minutes outside of the city, and you can reach areas where homes often sit on several acres. Places like Powhatan, Goochland, Mannequin-Sabot, and parts of western Hanover County are good examples. Busy intersections turn into quiet 2-lane roads. Suburban lots give way to 2-acre, 5-acre, sometimes even 10-acre properties. You might see horse pastures nearby or barns tucked behind the lines, and the pace of life slows. Life here tends to move at a slower pace. For some buyers, that sense of space and privacy is exactly what they're looking for. But when people compare this lifestyle with the others we talked about earlier, something important usually stands out. Once buyers see these 3 lifestyles side by side, something usually clicks. The biggest difference between them isn't the house itself. It's how your everyday life unfolds once you live there. Each lifestyle shapes your routine differently. Take suburban convenience, for example. Areas like Short Pump, Glen Allen, and Midlothian tend to work well for buyers who want things close together. Now, compare that with the community-style neighborhoods we talked about earlier in places like Moseley or Magnolia Green. In those areas, the neighborhood itself becomes part of daily life. Then you look at the space and privacy lifestyle in places like Powhatan and Goochland. Daily routines shift again. Shopping or restaurants might require a drive, but the environment offers something different, more space, more quiet, and a different kind of atmosphere when you step outside. Morning coffee might happen on a porch porch overlooking several acres of land. Evenings might bring a darker sky and a quieter setting. None of these lifestyles are better than the others. They simply prioritize different things: convenience, connection, or privacy. And once buyers start thinking about Richmond through that lens, something interesting usually happens. Instead of asking, which house should we buy? They start asking a more helpful question: what kind of daily life do we want? At some point in almost every relocation search, a shift happens. The focus moves away from just the house, and daily life becomes the bigger factor. Looking across the three lifestyles we talked about, the biggest difference isn't square footage or floor plans. It's the rhythm of everyday life. Seeing these options side by side often changes how people approach their search. Square footage starts to matter less, lifestyle starts to matter more, and that's usually when buyers say something like, now we know which areas we want to focus on. When people move to Richmond, the biggest decision usually isn't the house, it's the lifestyle around it. Because within the same metro area, you can experience very different versions of daily life. Over the years, I've noticed something pretty consistent. Buyers who focus only on the house sometimes second guess their decision later. But when someone first figures out the lifestyle they want, the right home usually becomes much easier to identify. If you're thinking about moving to the Richmond area or planning to buy or sell here, I'd be happy to help. As a native Richmonder, helping buyers understand the different areas around the region is a big part of what I do. You can call, text, email, or grab a time on my calendar. And all of my contact information is in the description below. If you're still exploring what life around Richmond looks like, make sure to check out the next video where we take a closer look at homes in each of these lifestyle categories.